Hi, welcome back to Lily's Bonsai. Hope you're well. Hope you've had a good start to the new year. Just got a little job I'm going to kind of have to do, and I thought it was kind of worth a share for you guys. Certainly anyone who's kind of a beginner in bonsai or a novice as such, and want to start something interesting from a very young plant. We've come into the living room today because it's freezing cold out there. I've not long finished work, and the light hours now obviously don't allow for too much outside filming. I keep getting caught out. So I thought for the quality of the video we'll come indoors. I've got a little selection here of Scots pines. You may well have seen in my previous tour video. And I've got a Monterey pine there. All of these I've grown from seed, are on probably their third year now. And basically I've done some really crazy wiring on them. If I just show you some of these up close. There's a lot of fine roots in there, which is good. Just wondering if the cold's got them a little bit, but I don't think so. I can see nice new tips on the ends of the roots. So even with the cold weather, I think they're trying to wake up a little bit. Certainly that bud is there as well. Look at that moss with them as well. It looks really quite nice, doesn't it? I'll just show you there on the roots. See those little white tips there? And this was kind of a good indicator for me when I potted up those white pines, or like I say, we tackled the root ball on them because they were nursery stock. And when I was seeing these little white shoots, or I guess we can call it a shoot on the root there, but those white tips appearing, it's kind of an indication that the plant's waking up. And there's another one there just on that little fine root. So with repotting these in, probably if I wanted, I probably won't do much to these other than pot them up. But if I wanted to do a bit of a heavier pot on them, I could lift them out of the pot every so often and keep an eye on what's going on, and not just go by maybe a date or a time. Nature and the weather really doesn't ever really just say, oh, you can do this on the 5th of March or at this time and date. Best to always have a look and kind of read what the plant's saying. So that's quite a cool one. We'll just show you another one. Another Scots pine there. I'll just get it out of the pot so we can have a better look at it. Quite a nice shape that. And obviously, these needles have got quite large, but for the size of the plant, but they've been quite vigorous growing from young seedlings and been allowed to do what they want really, other than on some of the Pinus radiata, or the Monterey pine, sorry. I cut the tap roots on them seedlings really early, and I'll show you kind of what effect that had on those. And you see all these buds we've got in there now. They're not all going to be useful pointing in the right way, but with pines obviously you'll tend to get more buds around that ring, so there'll definitely be one in the right place at some point, I would have thought. And same on the back of that if we wanted it. Probably another good thing to mention that we've got on here, when I was wiring these, or when I've wired other needled plants as it were, quite often the needles get in the way, and they'll just get mashed up in the wire, which to be fair isn't really that much of a problem if it's at a young stage like this. The needles will die away, but they can be obstructive, and other than plucking them off, you can just trim them back. And as you can see on this one, after a few months of being on there, these then will just fall away, and you won't risk tearing any bark, doing any damage to any buds that might be in there. So yeah, I think just taking a little bit of extra care with them. You don't want to just take a big sway of bark off there, tearing at needles on these young plants. They'll either do some damage and scar it forever, or just slow it down. But we've got here as well another kind of crazy movement. This one is a Monterey pine. I'll just have a quick look at the roots as well while we're here. A little bit on the drier side, this one. Not moving yet as such, this one, but again, a lot of fine roots. Like I say, when you've grown them all from seed, it's nice to see all elements are coming together well. Good root system, movement in the trunk, and back budding everywhere, which I've showed you on those Scots pines. And the same can be said for these Monterey pines I've grown from seed. We've got no no shortage of little, you know, buds and branches popping out. There's already a choice there if you wanted to grow a sacrifice branch, probably this one here, and this one here could be bent around and brought on. And then just as an example there, this is what we started with. And again, this is 3 years old this year. Let's see if these absolutely full of roots as well in there. So that's really positive to see as well. I had lost a few of these. Young pine, you know, the soil was well drained and everything, but young pine sometimes when they're just, you know, emerging from seedling stage, they can dampen off so easily. Look at that moss as well, isn't that brilliant? But yeah, and I'd also planted a few of these, like I said in my nursery tour video. I planted a few onto like tiles and bits of terracotta, thinking, you know, we'll get a nice flat root plane on there. But they didn't seem to like it. The hot weather in the summer, even being watered correctly, you know, a few of them keeled over. And every time I kind of looked in the soil at the ones that had died, there was a piece of tile under them. So for some reason they don't like that. So you're better off just, you know, I think working on them from a young age and keeping an eye on the root ball and probably not growing these on something initially. These Monterey pine that I grew from seed, when they were big enough to pot up the first time, I just carefully cut the tap roots on them, and you know that has resulted then in this kind of stockier plant, but a lot more, you know, back budding earlier on and a lot lower down. So this has a lot of options, this one. So it's probably why I've not bent this one up so much. You can see down here we've probably got, I don't know, the choice of probably 10 little branches, you know, that have broke bud now here. Again, there's, you know, more inside there. So this one here, and some quite dominant growth as well coming out up here. So if you wanted to bulk it up again, this is probably well on its way now to doing something this year. I think you just really kind of tease out some of these roots that have gone around the pot, and maybe just put this in a bigger pot, and just kind of encourage it to get a little bit bigger. Or maybe we'll see how big we can get that in a year. Right, well, as promised, we'll unwire a couple of these. Not that you won't be familiar with unwiring bonsais, but it'd be kind of nice to see these hold the shape. This one's got a bit of a spiral to it. So let's just unpick my madness here. So with these, when I wired them, I've used offcuts of wire I had lying around in the greenhouse because they were only short little runs. When you do yours, if you did do some, or you're looking for this video for inspiration on how to do it, obviously if you wire up some young saplings of your own, you can use the same size wire and keep it a little bit more regimental and tidy. Like I said, I love reusing stuff, making the most of it. I don't want to just bin it, so where I can I will. Yeah, we're only one turn away, so we can get that off there without doing any serious harm. So I'm just going to push that bend out of the way to clear that. I'm cupping this other piece here and basically working it off the way it went on. But like I said, the trees were straight when it went on, so it was a lot easier. Don't go putting on one thick piece of wire thinking, oh, that will bend that, no problem, because it will. I think this is probably 1.6 here, so close to 2 mil. You know, you could probably bend that with just one piece of that, but if you put a couple of pieces of this on, or this 1 mil wire here, either next to each other, and I have done others where I've spread it out, it just seems to cut the bends a lot better, so you can actually push them a lot harder. And as long as you kind of, as you're bending it, come away from it, have a little look, make sure you're not seeing the green cracks in the cambium opening up there, or in the bark layer, sorry. You know, you might be able to push it a little bit further, or come back to it, you know, in a few weeks or whatever, and go a little bit more with it. Certainly less is more with the thickness, but a couple of pieces on there opposed to one just seems to give better support. So we'll just get this other little piece off, and this is just 1 mil wire on here now. Just checking for any buds that might be lurking in there. And obviously you're looking then to to dodge around this branch here as well. We might want that. And just cupping round, so you can see even these awkward shapes, once you've got used to handling the wire and the plants, you don't even have to cut that off there. And there we go. See, there's a good bit anchoring it in, so we'll just straighten it out. There we go. And I don't think it's fenced really at all. I think it's maybe a little bit more upright, but it's really quite an interesting shape, that. It's actually a really nice shape. Whether this will ever be anything part of it, who knows, but we'll keep it for now. And then I think with some of these little ones, I'm going to carry on adding more movement to them and, you know, make them a little bit erratic. Too often or not, it's easy to keep replicating shapes that you're familiar with, almost muscle memory. The roots on these are as well really really impressing me as well for little plants there. So that's good, that. And then we'll do this Monterey pine as well, just quickly, because it's a really interesting shape. There we go. And that one there, it's a very interesting little shape, isn't it? It might want bringing up a little bit, you know, just to animate it a little bit there, but well, there's a really good start for a cascade, I guess, if you wanted that as well. So just having that bend early on there, set in stone, as it were, you know, kind of provides a few more possibilities for either an interesting kind of upright tree or, like I say, a cascade there. And one other thing I'll show you, because I've got it to hand here, linked to that pine, as it were, is the actual cone that it has. And it's actually quite an impressive cone. And this, I'd say, is probably still a medium one, really. They do get a bit bigger than that. Once you've picked them, like a, you know, you kind of use your logic with a pine cone. They kind of tell you the weather in a way. If the fins are open there, it's dry and, you know, fair weather, if you like. And if all the little fins are shut up there, or the scales, you know, it's damp, wet weather, normally winter. So there's a bit of a knack to opening these, and it kind of involves a fire or a heat source as such. I find if you gently warm them, they actually start opening up. They're sat on the side, you know, in a dry room, dry warm room, they won't budge. Definitely requires, yeah, a little bit more heat, almost to the point where you get the sap leaking out of it, and it seems to open up, and it doesn't damage the seeds either, I've found. So yeah, they require quite a temperature to open the cone, it seems. So even with our hot summers, they don't seem to open up. I think the plant itself, I don't know if it originates, but I know it's common in California. So maybe it takes a wildfire or something to open the cone in nature. But yeah, quite an impressive pine cone, really. To kind of conclude the video, I'm going to kind of do something fun in a way. I know one of my viewers in the summer kind of commented on it's the silly season on YouTube, and people just, you know, trying to fill that void of not much happening in midsummer or whatever. And I kind of resisted that, getting involved in, you know, kind of gimmicky projects. But a few of you might have seen I've been making cement pots again recently, and just out of the scrap of one of the larger pots I was making, you know, the muck left at the end of the day, we can't gauge it completely right. I've knocked up this little square pot, which I'm quite chuffed with, actually. The bottom come out maybe a little bit thin on this one. I don't know. I think it'll be all right, to be fair. It's pretty much neat cement, this. But yeah, really quite a nice little aged looking pot. So I thought, for a bit of fun, we'll chuck one of these little pines in there, because they're pretty much the same pot size to what that is, and then come summer we'll take it back out. But just for something to enjoy and kind of you know, have over the winter thing, when things are a bit boring and you can like look out the window and see something kind of fun, and like I said, a little bit of charm about it. And to add to that as well, really, I need to see how one of these pots perform with the bad weather. So I think we'll put a pine. These have all been outside anyway, so as long as we don't disturb the roots too much, we'll stick a little pine in one of them, put a bit of moss around there, and yeah, we'll do it as a trial piece if you like. These have been sealed as well with a patio sealer, so there shouldn't be no liming issues. I've seen people digging at, you know, concrete pots, saying, oh, what about lime? I think that's stretching a little bit really. Once it's kind of kicked and cured off, if you like, I don't think there's much free lime in cement as such. I've just got a piece of the plastering mesh that's actually part of the process of making these pots, funny enough. I'm just going to put over the hole in the bottom there, just to stop us losing too much out the bottom there. Have a little test run on how that fits in there. It's got plenty of room down. Look at all that fine root. So that is very healthy. Right, so we'll nip off a few of these where it's just been going round and round in the pot. I've got some sand and grit there as well. Put a little handful of that in there. This is the first one of these concrete pots I've made that I've actually filled up with something. It's kind of a shame to get it dirty, but like I say, I'm trying to make myself a bit of a test piece here. And we'll get an honest opinion then, won't we, on how these perform. I'm just going to slide these roots around the sides. Not the most ambitious project in the world, but probably a very rewarding looking little thing actually. I'm just going to clean that up. And then just to make this look a little bit cooler, I'll just give you that side of it. That side looks better. And it's coming towards you a little bit there. We've actually got this, although we had some really nice moss on it. Look at these little, they're a thing on their own, aren't they, moss? You know, little flowers or whatever they are there. And I've got some various different mosses here. This time of year is perfect for moss here. There's plenty of areas without sunlight. And should we see if we can make this look pretty with some moss? We don't want to make it over the top, but I'm just going to keep it away from the trunk. Not that it matters again with this. If you had a tree here with mature bark, you wouldn't want the moss around it, but again, this is a little pine seedling. And we're just having a bit of fun with it at the moment. I'll tell you what, some of this moss is different to that moss, so let's keep some of the original moss as well. See, it's taller. We'll put it at the back here. See, it's all practice. Tuck it in and try and make it look not too played with. And I do like this one, so we'll put a little piece of this in. I did a maple forest and I put some of this moss in there and it actually looks so cool the way it went round in there. So I'm just going to lick it back for me a minute. So, there's how not to do a bonsai. I think it looks quite cool in that little pot. I'm going to enjoy looking at that until the the time's right to take it out before it does nothing all year, because it's in too small a pot now. But you know, it's like I said, it's quite charming to look at, and I want to test one of these outside. So as soon as it's warmed up from this week, we'll pop it outside. If we do get any really brutal weather, I'll bring it back in, because we've played around with the roots a little bit there. But it's well drained soil, it's got plenty of drainage, so I think it'll be absolutely fine. And no doubt you'll see that in one of my little update videos at some point. We'll give it a little mention. So yeah, pretty cool there. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that little video, and like I say, if you were a complete novice to bonsai, there's probably quite a few things there that might help you along your way a little bit, especially with these younger plants. And like I say, it's really kind of key to get the shape in early, because as soon as that becomes pencil thickness, you'll struggle to achieve them tight bends really. And that's if you want to go down this road, but you know, you should kind of maybe practice on one like this and do a sensible one. So yeah, there we go. If you've enjoyed the video, if you could give it a thumbs up, that'd be great. Help the channel out. And if you're not a subscriber, please consider maybe hitting that subscribe button as well. It'd be really great to kind of grow the channel on a little bit. I kind of want to push to 1,000 now if we can on subs. And I've said in previous videos, you know, that we will do a giveaway of some description at 1,000. And you know, I'll get my thinking brain on, and we will give away something kind of cool at 1,000. There'll be limitations obviously with, you know, where it can be sent and things like that with plants, but we'll try and think of something cool we can do to include everyone. Thanks, I'll see you in the next one.